Hello and welcome to the beta week for Season 11 in Project Diablo 2. What I decided to do this week is to take every single day for a different class and separate kind of the testing that we're doing so we can cover every class in a more direct manner, so I don't have notes scrambled for different characters all over the place. And what I ended up doing is starting with Druid, just because it was the character I was most interested in starting the season with. I don't know necessarily that will stay this way after we're done testing, but basically what we did is we built a character, we tested the main changes, looking at the notes, seeing what we should be looking at, what items we should be testing, and that's what we did with Druid. So before I pull up anything, let me just open like a whole game here. So we took the Druid and we tested a bunch of setups on him. I tested the main stuff we tested is Summoner, and we tested Summoner in 3 different ways. We tested the Forebear Summoner that was very popular last season to see how it was nerfed. We tested a full Zoo Summoner. Zoo Summoner means using all of your summons, like 20 points into Ravens, 20 points into Spirit Wolf, 20 points into Direwolf, and 20 points into Grizzly, and 20 points into Heart of Wolverine, so everything hits really hard. And we tested only Spirit Wolf Summoner to see if the Spirit Wolves can kind of carry themselves, like Spirit Wolf and Direwolf, if they can kind of carry themselves. So we tested these 3 types of summoners. We tested Maul. We tested Maul with 2 different helms just to see like the new helm, and then it changes to Ursa. After the stream I also ran the same builds with Fury, but the results were pretty similar in terms of how they were affected, so I'll go over that whenever we get there. We tested Shockwave Druid, which got a few buffs, minor buffs I would say, and we tested Twister and Tornado, which also got small buffs. Arctic Blast and Fire Druid were not significantly changed. Same goes for Rabies, that wasn't significantly changed. Fire Claws potentially got a new weapon addition, but wasn't changed as a skill, so we didn't really go over these builds in the stream. But with that said, let me pull up the video kind of summarizing what we did on day 1 of the beta test, so you can kind of get a glimpse into what we were testing. So the first thing we're looking into was Summoner, and we tested Summoner Forebear with the Green Goblin approach, which means you use the Act 1 Merc with Demon Machine, which casts this multi-shot arrow. This is supposed to help you clear. Something that some people mentioned is that Green Goblin was generally nerfed because there was also a nerf to multi-shot as a skill, meaning that the Merc is doing less damage on the multi-shot procs, which is a very good point. Crossbows in general were also nerfed by -5 physical resistance reduction. So in general, the Green Goblin approach is nerfed. It is a little bit weaker, and you can see that with this approach we're kind of struggling to clear. I was also trying the Wrath Bow approach, which puts a Wrath Bow and a bunch of auras on the Merc, and you just focus on plus skills. That approach was also not the best. We tried it with Phoenix for sustain. We tried it with plus skills just to be as strong as possible, and it was simply not clearing as fast as I'd like a mapper build to clear. It was doing pretty slowly, given pretty expensive gear. I've had a lot of experience playing this on my SSF pluggy, the Summoner Druid, so I feel like I do have some sort of insight into how nerfed it feels, and it did feel a little too slow. It's still viable, it's not like a problem at all to map with it. It's just not as fast as you'd like it to be. Like the telestomping felt like a little bit too slow. After that, we moved into the Fenris helm. I only put this is the wolf approach, and we tried it too, both with the Wrath Bow and with the Green Goblin approach. Green Goblin was not too strong, and the Wrath Bow as well. Not putting points into bears felt like not good enough. Like the telestomping again didn't feel strong enough. So not putting points into bears feels like to me like a non-option. You can see that a lot of things are staying alive while we're going around and trying to stomp stuff. We're not really managing to clear everything. So after that, I figured, okay, let's try a different approach. I put on a Kestal helmet. I can show it later. Maybe I can show it now even. Let me hop into the game. I saved most of the gear that I was using. Okay, there it is. So we put on a Kestal helmet. This helmet will lower your cooldown. And the idea was that where's my summoning tree? We put 20 points into all of these summons, and as you can see, this already drains you from most of your skill points. I'm missing 3 skill points here because I wanted to simulate level 96 by just I didn't I just leveled him up, so I didn't want to create another character, but we didn't do our quest for Act 2 Radament in any of the difficulties, as you can see here. So this is basically like level 96 skill points. So we put all of our points here. We put a point into Gust, right? So we can have this reduced cooldown with Kestal. And that's the way we kind of can keep up in terms of teleporting. So we tried this kind of approach, and this is also called the zoo approach. So let me get back to the video. And with this approach, things felt a lot better. You can see that our telestomp feels cleaner, and we could teleport around. I felt pretty okay with this. You obviously can get your teleport, your gust, to a low enough cooldown with this approach, which is pretty great. It was more successful with the Wrath Bow on the mercenary rather than the demon machine with the goblin approach. So that's what I recommend other people do. We also tested this with an Enigma as well, so you can test this if you'd like. Instead of using Kestal, you can also run it with Fenris, and instead of like doing like the lower cooldown from Kez, you can have these extra 2 wolves and run an Enigma. Personally, I think the Kestal was a little bit smoother, but if you want to use that new helm and you enjoy it, you like it, I mean, go for it. It's not like a big difference. You can also run this with like Aldurs and Enigma. That's also fine. So these are like the approaches for Summoner that I would recommend other people try. And yeah, here you can see us trying this zoo approach with the Green Goblin as well. Again, it felt not as strong, just not clearing as fast as you'd like it to clear. So I believe that's where we kind of ended the summoner testing. A short conclusion was zoo approach felt like the strongest approach, being the 100 points into summoning tree. And after that, you can use either Kestal or Enigma to get better mobility in terms of faster cooldown on your gust, or getting just the blink from Enigma. So that's what we ended up doing. Over here you can see us doing Ubers. We decided to, I was pushed to by my audience to do budget Ubers. You can see we don't have a lot of HP. We're running with basically only crafted gear and I think an Den Mother here, crafted or rare gear. That was a request. No skillers, no nothing. I think you don't even need Den Mother, so this is just to show that Forebears is still very strong in these kind of like Uber situations. Obviously you cannot test Declone and Rathma and Lucian during the beta, so I couldn't show that. This is just to show Forebears are still very strong for doing Ubers, and probably for Uber Ancients and low level bossing. For higher tier bossing, I think they will still be viable as well, just a little bit weaker. The main nerf is actually not the change to their health, in my opinion. It's mostly the change to the cooldown. As you can see, like whenever my bears get like wiped by Mephisto or something like that, it takes a lot of time to bring them back up, and this could end up in a position where you're overwhelmed, and you can see me trying to resummon them here, and like it goes back from 1 to 2, and I can't summon like another one in time. Sometimes you can just like pull back and summon them away from the damage source, and I think that's okay. So yeah, that was like a Den Mother approach. After that, did the same gear, but instead of using Den Mother, we used an Alders, just to prove you don't really need the Forebears. Summoner is still incredibly strong for doing Ubers day 1, Omega Cheap. So all of the stuff I was using was just rares. I think I spawned 10 to 20 rares of like rings, of boots, of belts, and I just used whatever gave me like the resistances that matched up. This should kind of simulate like a day 1 experience. Obviously it's not like 1-to-1. Sometimes you don't find exactly what you need, but you can also trade on day 1, so you can always find what you need. But there's no skillers, nothing crazy, just an Alders helmet and a crafted weapon, crafted amulet, without skills, even just for resistances. So yeah, this is the Aldur's Summoner day 1 Ubers, just to show it's still strong enough. You can still do it. I still think leveling wise, you're staying on the Druid. It's still like the best leveler. I don't think Fire will outdo it in terms of either safety or boss killing. And the same is true for day 1 Deco and day 1 Ubers. In my opinion, it's gonna just stay on Summoner just because it's so safe and it's so strong, and it allows you so much freedom. So yeah, that's the example. We only use here a few potions in the entire Uber fight with this kind of cheap gear. Again, using crafted bat. I believe we use Ancient's Pledge, if I remember correctly. I don't remember if it's Ancient's Pledge or Spirit. Alders for helmet, crafted Brilliant Amulet for resistances, Spirit Shroud, which you can find in normal and nightmare already, Mage Fist, which I don't think we need for the FCR, but I think I used it anyway. So you could have used res gloves or like something like that, or like half freeze duration gloves or whatever. Rare rings, rare belt, rare boots. It looks like I made a spirit there. It looked like it for a moment. Anyway, we moved to test Maul after that as a representative of our melee shifter. I was testing him with 2 helms. One was the Fenris helm, the new helm. Fenris gives you up to -10 physical resistances, which is an incredible stat for melee shifters. And it gives you like +2 Heart of Wolverine, which you want to summon anyway. It gives you 2 to skills. It gives you a bunch of dexterity, which is good for AR, and for some it's good to equip your gear as well, so it saves you points. So overall, really nice helm. I was kind of expecting it to be mostly a fortified maps kind of helm, or for bossing, depending on how the damage calculator ends up. And we wanted to test it in fortified maps, which is exactly what we did. We also wanted to test Ursa in non-fortified maps, just to see how it does in more density maps. The weapon I'm using is Executioner's Justice. I'm using it only because I wanted to see how much the nerf affected it. I think it's a lot stronger now for melee shifters. That extra 10 IAS is very meaningful for shifters. It's still not like top 1 weapon or anything like that. It wasn't like it wasn't a buff in bad taste. I think it was very measured. So I think that's pretty nice. And I'm using like pretty simple gear, of course. Slamming is not allowed in the first days of the beta, so I'm just like running around with unslammed gear. But yeah, simple stuff. Go Riders, Drainers, Metal Grid for resistances and AR, Ravenfrost for CBF and AR. So nothing crazy. And as you can see, this is a fortified map with the Fenris helm, and you can see we're 2-tapping most things on the Maul, so definitely an improvement in fortified maps, I would say. Fenris felt very good. I'm running a Vigor Merc with Hunger, and it gives you a Vigor Merc not with Hunger. I'm running Vigor Merc, and we also use Hunger, so our movement speed is very nice. I often forget to use it because I'm not used to mapping with this. Of course, in terms of bossing, this clears out bossing very well, as long as you separate them. This is a show of bossing with Fenris, again, the new helm. I just want to see how much it clears, and yeah, even though this is sped up, you can kind of tell that this is very powerful. Minus physical resistance is always a very strong stat, so whenever you see it, you should always test it. I think Bale drops even faster. And in terms of what weapon or what should the Merc use, I honestly think it doesn't even matter. She barely was attacking. You can put a Wrath Bow on her, or you can put like an Ice Bow on her, like the Rune Ward, if you want to keep her alive a little bit more. I feel like the main thing you want to be doing is to make sure that she stays alive and she doesn't die. Because just reviving her takes so long. It's such a waste of time, and she really doesn't do that much damage, and you don't need more damage. After that, we went to test Ursa's Nightmare. We tested the same gear pretty much, just non-fortified maps. As you can see, the splash damage really is felt. It is really nice. You gain access to actual useful AoE way earlier with Ursa's right now. I already used Ursa last season. I thought it was a solid helmet. And it didn't make Maul or Fury feel like good mappers, but they were okay mappers. They were clearing at an okay speed, but now it's even better. You can kind of see like the slaps, like I one-shot most things with like, not like GG gear, just like okay gear. I would say something that you can get in 1 week for sure. And yeah, it felt very good to map with, so I was very happy with that. After the stream, I also tested Fury, so I didn't test it on the stream because it felt like it would be the same kind of gameplay. I didn't think there would be much differences, and I was kind of right. I would say that Fury felt a little bit better with the Fenris helm in fortified maps, probably due to Bear getting more splash than Wolf. So I would say that if you're running Fury in Season 11, I would recommend mapping with Fenris on fortified maps over running Ursa. But even if you run Ursa, it's going to feel okay. It's not going to feel bad. After that, we went to test a little bit of Windruid, and Windruid got mostly minor buffs, nothing crazy, just a little bit more consistent damage, which is great. It's mostly good for like the budget part of the game because it's going to feel a little bit better early on. This was already a really good mapper, not like a top 10 mapper kind of thing. I don't know what people fixate on, but it was already a good mapper, and it's definitely a cheap mapper to run compared to other builds for the most part, because people don't really play this build. So you're not competing on gear too much versus other people. So definitely a nice build to play. It felt very nice. It felt very comfortable. It was the first time that I played it, and it felt very easy to control. So I was pretty happy with Windruid. I heard some people say that the buffs don't seem significant, and since I didn't play the build before, I don't want to say anything like, oh, the buffs are bad or the buffs are not felt, because I genuinely don't know. But the build itself felt okay to play, so I was very fine with it, and I've already seen videos before of it being a solid mapper in Season 10, so I'm very comfortable with the changes. And we also went to test Shockwave Druid. This is very similar to Windruid. It just felt like slightly more consistent, not major buffs, just like it didn't feel like I need to stand on anything for too long for it to die. Speed felt okay. I tried running the Vigor Merc, which is what you want to just move faster, but she kept dying on me. So yeah, this is like a showing from a tier 3. We tested tier 1s as well. I didn't do tier 2s, I just did tier 1s and tier 3s for most builds. But yeah, tier 2s are gonna work just as well. But as you can see, it all feels very comfortable. It's a very safe mapper for HC, and I think this is for people. Here we're doing the new map. By the way, the new map looks amazing, and it was really fun to run in. But yeah, something that I think like this build might be, this is a comment that somebody brought up during the stream. If you're going to run a shapeshifter and you're going to invest in shapeshifting skillers, but you want to map a little bit more efficiently early on, you want to map with something that is a bit more, well, like this. Maybe you played a lot of Amazons and you want to play something that is kind of like a Boazon, because that's how this felt like to me. Then you could definitely run Shockwave, which already invests in plus skills and shapeshift skillers, and then transition into a shapeshifter melee druid, or you can transition into something else like a rabies druid if you'd like. So you have a lot of options in front of you in terms of what you can transition into. So that was pretty nice. Again, this was a pretty budgety approach in terms of gear. The gear was not very expensive, so I was pretty happy with how this performed overall. And that was the last build that we were checking on the druid. Generally speaking, I think that in terms of like winners and losers, if we have to define them like that, generally speaking, Summoner felt a little bit weaker than it did last season with the 4 bears, but still super viable with the full zoo approach, so still strong. My assumption is that in higher tier bossing, it is still going to be doable. I don't think it's going to become suddenly non-viable at all. But I do think it will be a little bit more difficult, so it'll require a little bit more gear, a little bit more finesse in terms of how you play it, because it does have like some skill aspects to it, as Woogs kind of demonstrated. The better you are with it, the better it looks. Poison Creeper build is going to stay the same for people who play the Snake build. I don't want to talk about the Snake build. I do not endorse the Snake build. Rabies is going to stay the same. I kind of suspect that Rabies will be the strongest bosser for Druid in Season 11. This is my, my suspect, because it is so strong. It is very slow. It's not going to be the fastest, but early on, I think it's going to be the best one. Maul is still feeling great. Like it wasn't really changed, mostly just changes to mapping, which I'm pretty happy with, because it didn't feel too good to map with in Season 10. I played a lot of Maul for people who don't know, and mapping with it didn't feel that good, so now it feels definitely a lot better, so I might even enjoy that in Season 11. Fury felt fine. We tested it after stream. It felt okay. I didn't test Fire Claws because it didn't really change. But the new weapon change for Hellrack might be something Fire Claws people want to test because Hellrack was already viable for bossing in last season. So that could be interesting with the -10 extra to fire resistance. Shockwave felt okay, still not something that would play unless like I'm looking to play specifically that build. I wasn't super excited with it, but it felt consistent. It felt definitely okay. So small buff to this. And Windruid, same thoughts with Shockwave Druid. Nothing crazy, just felt consistent, felt fine to play. For people who enjoy it, definitely go for it. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the Druid. On day number 2 of that beta, I'm going to cover a Necromancer. I'm going to make a Necromancer and test all the stuff for Necro. So if you want to affect what stuff we test, make sure to hop on the stream and to just kind of give your opinions about what we should be looking at. We have a bunch of things that we're already interested in looking at, the list that we comprised. And if you have ideas for other classes, make sure to drop them in the comments. If you enjoyed this content, make sure to drop a like and subscribe. And yeah, I don't know, I'll see you in the next stream or the next video, wherever I see you. Have a good whatever you're having. And bye.